The quantum anomaly detector aboard the International Space Observatory hadn't stopped beeping for the past 36 hours. Dr. Netasha Volkov stared at the readings for the 100th time, her dark eyes reflecting the haunting blue glow of the holographic display. The numbers couldn't be right. They simply couldn't be. Still getting the same readings. Commander James Harrison's voice carried across the observatory's main deck, his weathered face appearing even more lined under the harsh LED lighting. "Yes, and that's exactly what terrifies me," Natasha replied, pushing back a strand of silver-streaked black hair. "We're detecting an antimatter cloud roughly the size of Jupiter, and it's moving through space in a way that defies everything we know about celestial mechanics." The commander moved closer, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. 20 years in space had taught him to trust his gut. And right now, every instinct was screaming danger. How long until it reaches our solar system? Natasha's fingers danced across the holographic interface, pulling up trajectory calculations. At current velocity, approximately 8 months. But James, there's something else. She highlighted a section of the data stream. The cloud's movement isn't natural. It's adjusting course, maintaining a constant acceleration that's mathematically perfect to the 7th decimal place. Harrison's face paled. "You're saying it's being controlled, or it's following a programmed path. Either way, this isn't a natural phenomenon." She brought up a 3-dimensional representation of the cloud's trajectory, and Earth lies directly in its path. The implications hung heavy in the recycled air of the observatory. An antimatter cloud of that size making contact with Earth would result in an annihilation event that would make a supernova look like a firecracker. "We need to contact ground control immediately," Harrison said, already moving toward the communications array. "This goes beyond our standard protocols." Before he could reach the array, the observatory's emergency lights began flashing red. Natasha's quantum detector was now screaming with alerts, its display showing rapidly changing numbers that made her blood run cold. "James, the cloud's acceleration just increased by a factor of 10. Her voice cracked with urgency. "New arrival estimate, 3 months." Harrison slammed his palm against the emergency broadcast button, opening a direct channel to every major space agency on Earth. "This is Commander James Harrison of the International Space Observatory. We are declaring a quantum emergency level alpha. I repeat, quantum emergency level alpha. All stations prepare for immediate data transfer." As they began transmitting their findings, Natasha noticed something else in the data stream. Hidden beneath the quantum signatures of the antimatter cloud was a pattern, a repeating sequence of energy pulses that couldn't be natural. "James, look at this." She isolated the pattern and amplified it. "These pulses, they're encoded with information. It's a message." The commander leaned in, his expression grim. "Can you decode it?" "The quantum computer is already working on it. The pattern suggests it's using prime numbers as a base, similar to how we theorized first contact messages might be structured." Her fingers flew across the interface, setting up additional decoding algorithms. As they waited for the computer to process the message, Harrison contacted Dr. Richard Wong at Mission Control in Houston and Dr. Yuki Tanaka at JAXA. Within hours, every major scientific institution on Earth would be analyzing their data, searching for a way to prevent what looked increasingly like an extinction-level event. The quantum computer chimed, drawing their attention back to the main display. The decoded message was brief, but its implications were staggering. "CONTAINMENTFAILUR. Quarantine protocol INITIAHED. Timeline entails TERI. 5. AA. Button. 90 locale rotative ionans. Sterilization." Harrison whispered, the word hanging like a death sentence in the air. Natasha's mind was already racing ahead, connecting dots that painted a terrifying picture. Someone, or something, released this antimatter cloud deliberately. This isn't a natural disaster. It's a quarantine measure. She looked up at Harrison, her face pale but determined. We're not just fighting against antimatter. We're fighting against someone's decision that Earth needs to be sterilized. The observatory continued its silent orbit around Earth, its instruments recording the approach of what might be humanity's final challenge. Below them, the blue planet spun on, its inhabitants still unaware that in the depths of space, a decision had been made about their fate, a decision they would soon be fighting with every ounce of human ingenuity and determination to overturn. As Natasha and Harrison prepared their full report for Earth's governments, they both knew that the next 3 months would either mark the end of human civilization or the beginning of humanity's greatest challenge. The antimatter cloud approaching Earth wasn't just a threat. It was a test, and failure wasn't an option. The United Nations Emergency Council chamber had never been so packed. Dr. Natasha Volkov stood at the podium, her holographic presentation showing the antimatter cloud's trajectory for the 100th time. 2 months had passed since the initial discovery, and the situation had only grown more dire. Our latest calculations confirm it. She addressed the assembled world leaders, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. The cloud is maintaining its course correction, compensating for every gravitational influence it encounters. This is no natural phenomenon. In the front row, Dr. Isabella Santos of the Brazilian Quantum Research Institute raised her hand. What about the containment prototype? Have we made any progress? Natasha nodded to her colleague, Dr. Marcus Reinhardt, who stepped forward from the shadows of the stage. The German physicist's reputation for brilliant but dangerous ideas had earned him the nickname Mad Marcus in scientific circles, but now his risky approaches might be humanity's only hope. We've successfully created a localized quantum field that can contain small amounts of antimatter, Marcus explained, his accent thickening with excitement. The breakthrough came when we combined Dr. Volkov's quantum resonance theories with experimental dark matter technology. However, he paused, his expression darkening. Scaling it up to handle a Jupiter-sized cloud would require more energy than Earth currently produces in a decade. The chamber erupted in frustrated murmurs. General Diana Ward of the International Defense Coalition stood up, her decorated uniform catching the light. What about a military solution? Our newest fusion-powered satellites would be like throwing pebbles at a tsunami. Commander Harrison interrupted from his video feed from the Space Observatory. The energy released from even a small interaction with this cloud would be catastrophic. We need another approach. Natasha brought up new data on the holographic display. There's something else we need to consider. We've decoded more of the message embedded in the quantum pulses. It references something called Protocol Omega and mentions previous containment sites. This isn't the first time this has happened. The room fell silent. Prime Minister Yoshida of Japan leaned forward. You're suggesting this is some kind of interstellar quarantine system. Exactly, Natasha confirmed. We believe advanced civilizations may have created this system to contain dangerous quantum experiments or phenomena. The question is, what triggered it to target Earth? Dr. Marcus cleared his throat. Actually, I might have a theory about that. He pulled up data from quantum observatories around the world. 3 months ago, exactly 1 week before the cloud was detected, there was a spike in quantum entanglement readings across the globe. It coincided with the activation of the new quantum communication network. President Rodriguez of the European Union stood up. Are you saying our own technological advancement triggered this response? It's possible we crossed a threshold, Natasha explained. Like a cosmic firewall designed to prevent civilizations from reaching certain technological milestones without proper safeguards. The implications settled heavily over the assembly. Humanity was being judged by criteria they didn't understand, facing execution by ancient alien protocols they never knew existed. In the back of the chamber, Dr. Wei Lin of the Chinese Academy of Sciences had been quietly analyzing the data on his tablet. There might be a way. He spoke up, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. If we can't stop the cloud, perhaps we can prove we can contain it. Show whoever or whatever created this system that we're capable of handling quantum technology responsibly. Natash's eyes lit up with understanding. A demonstration of containment capability. Dr. Lin, are you suggesting what I think you are? He nodded grimly. We build the containment field anyway. Not to stop the whole cloud, but to safely contain a small portion of it. Prove our worth through action rather than appeal. Marcus was already running calculations on his device. With the current global fusion reactor network, we could generate enough power for a containment field roughly the size of Manhattan. It would mean diverting power from every major city on Earth. Better than losing every city on Earth, General Ward interjected. I'll coordinate with global military forces to handle civil defense during the power diversion. President Rodriguez stood again. We'll need unprecedented cooperation between nations. Every resource, every scientist, every bit of manufacturing capability. We have no choice, Natasha said firmly. We have 1 month left. Either we come together as a species and prove ourselves worthy of survival, or we face extinction divided. The resolution passed unanimously. Within hours, Operation Quantum Shield was initiated. Around the globe, factories retooled to produce quantum field generators. Power grids were reinforced and interconnected. Scientists shared decades of classified research openly. As Natasha looked out over the bustling emergency command center being constructed beneath Geneva, she felt a mixture of hope and dread. They were about to attempt something unprecedented in human history, and failure meant not just their own extinction, but proof that humanity wasn't ready for the cosmos. Commander Harrison's voice came through her earpiece. The cloud's behavior is changing again. It's accelerating. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast. Natasha closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. The next few weeks would determine not just humanity's survival, but their place in a universe that was proving far more regulated than they had ever imagined. 2 weeks before impact, the skies above Manhattan had turned into a forest of quantum towers. Dr. Marcus Reinhardt stood at the window of the hastily constructed Quantum Defense Command, watching as another massive generator was lifted into place by heavy-duty drones. The city had been evacuated weeks ago, transformed into humanity's last stand against cosmic judgment. Power synchronization at 78%, Dr. Isabella Santos announced from her station, dark circles under her eyes betraying weeks of sleepless nights. But we're seeing fluctuations in the Asian grid. The recent solar flares aren't helping. Marcus turned from the window, his usual manic energy replaced by grim determination. We need at least 95% synchronization for the containment field to stabilize. Get me Beijing on the line. Before Isabella could make the call, Dr. Natasha Volkov burst into the command center, clutching a tablet. The decryption team found something new in the quantum pulses. You need to see this. She thrust the tablet into Marcus's hands. As his eyes scanned the decoded message, his face went pale. This can't be right. Run it again. We did. 7 times. Natasha's voice was heavy. The quarantine protocol. It's not just about preventing technological advancement. It's about preserving quantum stability across the galaxy. According to these readings, Earth's location sits on a quantum fault line. Our quantum communication experiments weren't just detected. They'd risked triggering a cascade failure that could affect multiple star systems. Isabella left her station to join them. Are you saying we're not being punished? We're being contained. Like a quantum hazard. More like a quantum powder keg. Marcus muttered, still reading. Earth's position makes it particularly sensitive to quantum manipulation. The ancient civilization that set up this system, they weren't trying to stop our progress. They were trying to prevent us from accidentally shattering space-time. Commander Harrison's voice crackled over the quantum comm. That explains the precision of the antimatter cloud. It's not just about destroying Earth. It's about controlling the quantum aftermath of our elimination. A distant rumble shook the building as another quantum tower powered up. Outside, the sky had taken on a peculiar purple hue, a side effect of so many quantum fields operating in close proximity. Dr. Wei Lin's hologram materialized in the center of the room. Update from the Beijing facility. We've stabilized our power grid, but the quantum resonance is causing unexpected weather patterns. Half of Asia is experiencing aurora-like phenomena. Natasha began pacing, her mind racing. If the system is trying to prevent quantum instability, then maybe our containment plan is wrong. We're generating massive quantum fields to try to contain the antimatter. But what if that just makes us look more dangerous? Marcus's eyes suddenly lit up with the familiar gleam of inspiration. Or, what if we use that? The antimatter cloud is controlled, correcting its course constantly. That means there must be a quantum control system, something directing it. What if instead of trying to contain the antimatter, we demonstrate we can detect, understand, and manipulate these quantum fault lines? Isabella caught on quickly. Show whoever created this system that we can be part of the solution rather than the problem. Exactly. Marcus began furiously typing at his terminal. We reconfigure the quantum towers. Instead of creating a containment field, we use them to map the quantum topology of our region of space. Show that we understand the risk and can help monitor and maintain quantum stability. Commander Harrison's voice cut in again, urgent. Whatever you're going to do it fast. The cloud just adapted its approach vector. It's accelerating again. Impact in 10 days. Natasha took charge. Isabella, coordinate with the global power grid. We need to reconfigure every quantum tower for deep space topological scanning. Marcus, start programming the new scanning protocols. Dr. Lin, we need Beijing's quantum computers focused on mapping these fault lines. What about the antimatter cloud? General Ward asked from her station. Even if we prove we understand the quantum fault lines, that cloud is still coming. One problem at a time, Natasha replied, her fingers flying over her console. First, we prove we understand why we're being contained. Then we prove we can help prevent the very disaster they're trying to avoid. As the team raced to implement their new plan, the sky continued to darken with quantum energy. Around the world, billions watched the strange auroras and prayed. In orbit, Commander Harrison tracked both the approaching cloud and the increasingly bizarre quantum readings from Earth's makeshift defense network. They had 10 days to convince an ancient alien security system that humanity wasn't a threat to the cosmic quantum web, that they could be trusted not just to survive, but to help maintain the very fabric of space-time itself. And if they failed, the antimatter cloud would ensure that Earth's quantum fault line would never be disturbed again. Marcus looked up from his work, catching Natash's eye. You know, if we survive this, we're going to have to completely rethink quantum physics. Everything we thought we knew about space-time. Natasha managed a small smile. First, let's make sure we're around to do that rethinking. Isabella, start the reconfiguration sequence. Let's show the cosmos what humanity can really do. 5 days before impact, the quantum auroras had become permanent fixtures in Earth's skies. From the observation deck of the International Space Observatory, Commander Harrison watched his planet glow like a bizarre jewel, wrapped in sheets of quantum energy that defied the normal laws of physics. Commander, you need to see this. Lieutenant Rhea Patel called from her station. The quantum mapping is revealing something impossible. Harrison floated to her console, where a three-dimensional hologram showed the quantum topology around Earth. What had started as a simple mapping exercise had revealed something extraordinary. A vast network of quantum threads connecting different points in space, like a cosmic spider web. Send this to Dr. Volkov immediately, Harrison ordered, his voice tight. They had just stumbled onto something far bigger than Earth's survival. In Manhattan's Quantum Defense Command, Natash's team was already analyzing the data. Marcus stared at the readings in awe. These quantum threads, they're like highways, natural channels of quantum entanglement spanning the galaxy. And Earth sits at a major intersection. Isabella added, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic displays. No wonder they're so concerned about our quantum experiments. We're like kids playing with matches at a gas station. Dr. Wei Lin's hologram appeared, his image flickering with interference from the intense quantum fields. Beijing's quantum computers have finished their analysis. These threads, they're not just paths. They're carrying information, vast amounts of it. We think we're looking at some kind of galactic communication network. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. General Ward's voice cut through the chaos. The antimatter cloud just changed course again. It's splitting into multiple streams. On the main display, they watched in horror as the massive cloud divided into dozens of smaller tendrils, each taking a different approach vector to Earth. The ancient system wasn't just adapting, it was ensuring total coverage. Wait, Marcus suddenly straightened, his eyes wild with realization. The cloud, it's following the quantum threads. Look at the pattern. Natasha saw it too. The antimatter tendrils were flowing along the same paths as the quantum highways they'd discovered. It's using the natural quantum channels to maintain coherence and precision. That's how it can correct course so perfectly. Isabella's console erupted with new data. The quantum towers are picking up something else. These threads, they're resonating with our scanning frequencies, almost like they're trying to communicate. Natasha finished. She rushed to her station, fingers flying across the controls. Quick, shift all quantum towers to frequency mode Delta 9. If these are communication channels, let's see if we can listen in. For several tense minutes, the room was filled with nothing but the hum of equipment and the rapid-fire clicking of keys. Then, suddenly, every speaker in the facility crackled to life with a sound that made their blood run cold, a rhythmic pulsing that couldn't possibly be natural. "It's a heartbeat," Dr. Lin whispered through his hologram. "The quantum web. It's alive." Marcus was already running new calculations. Not alive, but part of something alive. These aren't just communication channels, they're synapses. The whole galaxy is connected by a quantum nervous system, and we've been accidentally interfering with it. Which means the antimatter cloud isn't a weapon. Natasha realized, her voice filled with wonder. It's an immune response. The system thinks we're an infection threatening the larger organism. Commander Harrison's voice cut in from orbit. Then we need to prove we're not an infection. We need to show we can be symbiotic. "The quantum towers," Isabella exclaimed. "We can reprogram them to synchronize with the quantum web's natural frequency. Instead of disrupting it, we could help strengthen it." Natasha nodded decisively. "Marcus, start the reprogramming. Isabella, coordinate with global facilities. Dr. Lin, we need every quantum computer on Earth focused on matching these frequencies perfectly. One mistake, and we could make things worse." As the team raced to implement their plan, the antimatter tendrils drew closer, now visible to the naked eye, as brilliant streams of light approaching Earth from all directions. They had less than 5 days to convince a galactic immune system that humanity could evolve from a perceived parasite to a beneficial symbiote. In orbit, Harrison watched the ethereal display with a mixture of terror and awe. "To think," he murmured to Lieutenant Patel, "we thought we were alone in the universe. Turns out we're living inside something so vast we couldn't even perceive it." The quantum auroras intensified as Earth's hastily assembled network of towers began pulsing in rhythm with the cosmic web. Whether it would be enough to save them remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. Humanity's understanding of their place in the universe had changed forever. And somewhere in the vast quantum network surrounding them, something ancient and incomprehensible was about to make a decision about Earth's fate. The final hours before impact transformed Earth into something that defied description. The quantum towers pulsed in perfect harmony with the galactic web, sending ripples of iridescent energy across the sky. The antimatter tendrils had drawn so close that they resembled brilliant auroras of impossible colors, their light casting strange shadows across the evacuated cities below. In the Quantum Defense Command, Natasha Volkov watched the holographic displays with exhausted eyes. For 72 hours straight, their global network had maintained synchronization with the quantum web's natural frequency, but the antimatter streams showed no signs of slowing. Energy consumption is reaching critical levels, Isabella reported, her voice hoarse. We can't maintain the quantum harmony much longer without burning out the global power grid. Marcus looked up from his calculations, his usual manic energy replaced by bone-deep weariness. We're matching the frequency perfectly. Why isn't it working? Dr. Wei Lin's hologram flickered into view, more unstable than ever as quantum interference increased. Perhaps we're thinking about this wrong. We're matching the frequency, yes, but we're still separate from it. Still isolated. Commander Harrison's voice crackled through the quantum static. He's right. Look at these readings from orbit. The quantum web doesn't just connect different points in space, it connects everything. Stars, planets, even the void between them. Everything except. Except us, Natasha whispered, sudden understanding dawning in her eyes. We've been trying to communicate with the network, but what we need to do is join it. General Ward stepped forward, her uniform disheveled from days without rest. You're not suggesting we drop our quantum shields. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Natasha's voice was firm. We've been maintaining barriers, trying to prove we can contain and control quantum energy. But that's not what the system wants. It doesn't want us to control the quantum web. It wants us to become part of it. Marcus's eyes widened. Like neural integration, we're not asking for admission to a network. We're asking for acceptance by a living system. And living systems don't accept isolated elements. The risk is enormous, Isabella warned. If we drop our quantum shields and synchronization fails, then we face the same fate we're heading for anyway, Natasha finished. But if we succeed, we prove we're willing to trust the system we've been fighting against. We show we understand it's not about control, it's about connection. Dr. Lin's hologram nodded. The ancient civilization that built this system, perhaps this was their true legacy. Not the quarantine protocol, but an invitation to join something greater. Commander Harrison's voice was solemn. Whatever we're going to do, it needs to be now. Antimatter streams will reach critical proximity in 20 minutes. Natasha took a deep breath and stepped to the main control console. Send the order worldwide. All quantum towers to switch from barrier generation to pure resonance. Drop all quantum shields on my mark. Around the globe, scientists and military personnel held their breath. The antimatter streams drew closer, their light now bright enough to cast shadows in broad daylight. 10 seconds. Isabella counted down. 9, 8. Marcus grabbed Natasha's hand. For what it's worth, it's been an honor. 5, 4, 3. Dr. Lin's hologram raised his hand in farewell as General Ward stood at attention. 2, 1. Mark. Natasha pressed the command key, and Earth's quantum barriers dissolved. For one terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, like a symphony reaching its crescendo, the quantum web lit up. The antimatter streams paused in their approach, their light pulsing in curious patterns. In orbit, Harrison watched in awe as Earth began to glow with the same ethereal light as the quantum threads that crisscrossed space. The quantum field. It's integrating with Earth's natural frequency. The antimatter streams started to move again, but not toward Earth. They began to flow along the quantum threads, merging with the natural pathways of the cosmic web. The threat wasn't being eliminated, it was being transformed. In the command center, new data flooded their screens. Information poured through the quantum connection. Star maps, energy patterns, and something else. Messages. Thousands of them from points across the galaxy. Their welcomes, Isabella translated in amazement. From other civilizations, other nodes in the network. We're not alone. We were never alone. The quantum auroras settled into a gentle, steady glow. Earth had found its harmony with the cosmic symphony, its quantum signature now a natural part of the galactic web. The ancient system hadn't been trying to destroy them. It had been pushing them toward an evolutionary leap. Months later, Natasha stood in the rebuilt Quantum Defense Command, now renamed the Galactic Integration Center. The quantum towers still stood, but they no longer served as barriers. Instead, they functioned as synapses, connecting Earth to a network of civilizations spread across the cosmos. Marcus approached her, holding a tablet displaying the latest quantum communications. Hard to believe we almost missed it. All our fears about being alone in the universe, and we were actually part of something incredible all along. We just needed to learn how to plug in. Natasha smiled, watching the quantum lights dance across the evening sky. We thought we were fighting for survival, but we were really fighting for evolution. And this is just the beginning. Above them, the quantum web pulsed with the combined knowledge and consciousness of countless civilizations. Humanity had faced its trial by fire and emerged transformed. They had learned the greatest lesson the cosmos had to teach, that the universe wasn't a void to be conquered, but a network to be joined. Earth continued its journey through space, no longer an isolated world, but a shining node in the living network of the cosmos. The antimatter crisis had ended not with destruction, but with transcendence. And in the vast quantum web that connected all things, a new voice had joined the eternal conversation of the stars.